I will now call to order the Tuesday, January 3rd, 2022 Town Council meeting. If you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Up first on the agenda is the election of the 2023 Town Council officers. Up first would be President.
I would, if you're willing, I would like to nominate President Plunkett to continue for another term.
Second. I would do that. So I got a first by Councilor Garrett, a second by Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next would be the election of Vice President. And along those same lines, if you would be willing to do so, I'd like to nominate Vice President Burke.
Second, it'd be a privilege.
Second by Councilor Culp. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is the approval of the memorandum of the December 19th, 2022 regular Town Council meeting. A copy has been posted. Are there any questions from councilors?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. First by Councilor Garrett, second by President Plunkett. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is the approval of the January 3rd, 2023 claims. Are there any questions from councilors regarding claims?
Is there anybody here to answer them?
I do have a couple of questions about claims too that would require moving claims around.
Yeah, I guess my my biggest question was we had taken off the Ice Miller invoice for $3,000, waiting for some explanation of what that was for. I didn't see that added back into these claims, so I'm just curious. I want to make sure that it didn't get paid, and that see if it's going to show up on a future claim.
Yeah. I also had a question. There's in the general account 101 and the 999 non-department legal fees has Barnes and Thornburg legal fees of $15,500. It also shows a Nooning and Whitsett claim in there as general matters. I'm assuming that that should be our retainer. I think we've had that in the past because it's not in our town council line here. But without knowing that that's our actual retainer, I mean, for what it's worth, if we don't have anybody here to answer it, I'm comfortable continuing this to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue.
Second.
First by Councilor Traylor, second by Councilor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a request to speak on agenda item. Amy, do we have any requests?
No, we do not.
Very good. Up next would be a mayor administration update, and I did not receive anything from the mayor. So up next would be town council update. I did just want to let members of the public and the council know that we are working on, I shouldn't say are working on, we've completed a list of appointments to boards and commissions. Vice President Burke and I met last week to finalize those. They will be on the next meeting. So we will vote on those at the next meeting. And I appreciate all those in the public that gave input and certainly those on the council that did as well. Up next is sorry, go ahead.
Well, I've just noted or noticed as looking back on meetings that we haven't done any encumbrance of money for 2022 to 2023. And I don't think there's anyone here to answer that, but I'm just curious, did we not have any funds that we had to encumber over, or did we forget to do that? So that's just kind of an open question that I would like answered at some point.
And I would like to know if there's any update on the claim for the insurance claim for Chief Van Gorder's legal fees.
Yeah, as of the last meeting, I was informed by the defense attorney for Zurich that we are not to speak about this in a public meeting and that they would be reaching out to the fire chiefs attorney and legal team. And I have invited them to attend, or him specifically to attend town council meeting. He denied that request for this meeting, so I will be asking him to attend the next meeting.
Does he have any authority to tell me what to speak about?
It's just simply a process of the,
I mean,
from the insurance company.
I guess from.
But the answer is no. He has,
I'm just saying, is there any legal precedent for why I can't ask a question? I mean, if he wants to tell me what to do, I'd love for him to come here and tell us, you know, what's going on. All we're looking for is an update and we can't get one.
I would agree. And as I've shared with the council in the past, I've been on a couple of conversations with the insurance company as well as our attorney, trying to understand why the claim has not been paid and what the process, why the process has taken this long. And again, as I would say, the defense attorney who is working on behalf of the insurance company has shared, they have been in communication with the legal teams for the mayor, the fire chief, and our legal team. And I can tell you from our perspective, they have not been in contact with our legal team.
OpenGov told us not to speak about that problem too. So
Yeah.
I would encourage you to keep speaking about it.
Well, I did, just for the record, I did do a public records request. I only did that, I think it was 4 days ago now. So nothing on that yet, but my hope is to have more information by doing a public records request than I can get just by asking.
Yeah.
Another update that I've got, I had last meeting, I had asked about the $19,000 appropriation or misappropriation, depending on what comes back, for a theater in Lebanon coming out of the food and beverage fund. I've gotten no update on that. Everybody was copied saying that I get an update, no update on that either. But I am supposed to get an update from the deputy mayor on Thursday. So I'll let you know at the next meeting.
Very good. Any other updates from counselors? Moving on to old business, there are no old business items. Up next would be new business. And the first item up is the consideration of approval of job descriptions. This is for the director and deputy director of finance and records. HR Director Joe Keel is here. Joe, I'll actually let you introduce that, and then I'll kind of talk a little bit about, you know, what I think we should do here.
Sure. In the 2023 salary ordinance, you approved the changing of the title from CFO to Director of Finance and Records back to where it was maybe 3 years ago, and requested to approve the job description. I submitted update redlined job descriptions for both that and the Deputy Director of Finance and Records.
Yeah, I think I appreciate that. And I think this is something that the council talked about wanting to do. In full disclosure, our legal counsel hasn't had a chance to review the job description yet. I think if it's okay with this council and Joe, with you, what I'd like to do is continue that to the next meeting.
Mhm.
That way we can have a reviewed redline version and we can make appropriate recommendations at that point.
Can I, just based on what I read, can I make a couple of quick points?
Yeah.
So one, and I'll make this as easy as possible. In the duties and responsibilities, let's see, last bullet on the Director of Finance, pulled up the Deputy Director. Give me just a second, sorry. But on the last bullet under duties and responsibilities, it says with input from and in coordination with other directors and the mayor and deputy mayor, this person would develop, implement, and administer the annual budget. I would like to have the town council added to that line, since we are the fiscal body. And then my other question was, I did notice that the pay grade, oh, maybe I saw that wrong. I'm sorry. Give me just a second, maybe. Oh, never mind. I saw the numbers wrong. I thought they were both at the same pay grade. One's a 36, one's a 26. My mistake.
Okay,
I think moving this to the middle of the month would give us a chance to even make that change if we wanted to. So if you guys are open to it, I'll make a motion to continue the consideration of approval of job descriptions to the mid-month meeting.
Could I just ask a question or
Yep.
just some clarifications? I think we're aware, but so that the public's aware of what happened 3 years ago in terms of going from Director of Finance to CFO, what the reasonings behind that and why we're going back now again at this point?
I wasn't here when it would change from a director to a CFO. So I don't know specifically. I think it was designed to, well, I can't even speak on that because I wasn't here. I do know that the reasoning of taking it from a CFO back to a director is it's more in line with municipal finance. I don't know anybody that has a CFO in any town. And when you look at qualifications for a CFO, the education, the experience, that type of thing, it is difficult to find somebody that has all of that in addition to municipal finance knowledge. And that is the reason. I don't know that municipalities are set up in that same sense that a private corporation would be.
Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that we were kind of sold on it being a cost saving measure, that we wouldn't have to lean on a financial advisory firm like Crow as much, that we would have that knowledge in-house, and it didn't work out. So we've spent more money on Crow to try to fix. Yeah, twice it didn't work out, but we've spent more money on Crow to try to help fix all the problems that this has caused. We should have never gone with the CFO strategy, but we.
I think we.
I'll second the continuance.
Jason.
All right, so we got a first by President Plunkett, a second by Councilor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank
Joe.
you.
Up next is a Ready Grant overview and Zionsville Gateway area update. And we have Corey Sharp.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me a little bit of time.
Yeah, Corey, could you just, for the record, could you just introduce yourself? Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, my name's Corey Sharp. I am an urban planner, landscape architect, and have been working on redevelopment strategies for municipalities for a couple years. And let's all just be kind and say a couple. I own a company called Innovative Planning, and I have been working with the Redevelopment Commission over the last 6 months to basically fill the gap from when the Director of Community and Development, Planning and Development, left. And I was just basically a gap filler. But since that time, we have learned a lot about the Redevelopment Commission and the opportunities with the community and with developers, and opportunities to have separate departments, so to speak. So to get into the nitty gritty, a redevelopment commission is actually underneath a separate statute from the Plan Commission. And the Redevelopment Commission has a very clear purpose. It is a public purpose that's focused on replanning of redevelopment areas in a specific need that for which public money may be spent and private property may be acquired. So that's kind of the planning, the thinking part of it. And then the other aspect of redevelopment commissions is the actual arm of development. You have had a great arm of development in your redevelopment commission because Creekside is their baby and your baby. And so you have been driving private enterprise through that development arm. Redevelopment commissions have the capability to work in the entire geography of any municipality. Zionsville's redevelopment commission obviously is working within the framework of Zionsville, but it can't be just anywhere. It has to be in areas needing of redevelopment. It has to be focused on redevelopment projects or urban renewal areas. More specifically, or more appropriate for the town of Zionsville, economic development areas, which is really what Creekside has been for the community. My role, as it's proposed to the Redevelopment Commission, is to serve as the Redevelopment Commission Director. Mr. Dale is the city's Plan Commission Director, and that operates under a separate statute, and he is a staff person of the actual city that is within your city budget, town budget. Whereas I am a consultant and working underneath the, it is proposed that I work underneath the redevelopment budget specifically. They manage their own budget, and I've got a budget at the back end of this.
Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
What's the timing of that happening? Because I think
So-
it's very important that that does happen.
Yes, it will be on this month's agenda for January.
Okay.
January 23rd is the next redevelopment commission meeting. Currently, my contract is with the town, and the mayor had executed that. We will terminate that contract and then flip this over to me being having the reporting board of the redevelopment commission as a whole, rather than reporting to council or reporting to the mayor.
And does the budget have to flip over then to support that change? Like, do we need to reappropriate money from contractual services to the RDC so that they can then pay your fees?
Can we hit pause on that one?
Yep.
All right, give me a couple minutes. So it takes a team, and Mike Dale, Director Dale's team, Owen Young and Zach Lutz have been fantastic support of the Redevelopment Commission in years past. And luckily, we're able to continue on with their support. But that is the core team that will be focused on the Redevelopment Commission efforts over the next couple of years. Zionsville has some existing TIF areas today. They include areas just on the west side of the border by the Adler Hy-Vee area on Whitestown Parkway. Then there's Holiday Farms has a big area, Creekside, which is, and then there's also a Zionsville EDA area. I'm gonna blow these up, but this is just an overview. You have a handful of areas that are generating tax increment. So TIF areas, just to back up a little bit, are areas that have been established in area as an economic development area. Then you can issue TIF bonds where you basically take out a mortgage on that piece of property, and you lay flat the assessed value of that property in year one. And then all of the growth on that property, because of the new development, that then pays for the mortgage payments, the debt service against that base value. So it really is a per area cycle fiscally. It is not, unless the bonds are structured very complex, it is a geographic area where the bonds stay in a specific area. So the blue area of Holiday Farms, that is the Holiday Farms area. We can, any money that comes in from that has to be paid towards the Holiday Farms debt obligation or to pay for projects that Holiday Farms committed to. Or it can pay for public projects within a quarter mile of that. It is a very small area.
Hey, Corey, go back, if you don't mind going back one. Isn't the Pittman property there at Sycamore and 421, isn't that a TIF?
Yep, it's right here. It It is highlighted there.
It is?
Yeah, it's kind of shaded in, but
It's like
they've got it in. This is coming from the GIS. And so,
It's not really highlighted. That's just
it's kind of like no, it's got like a brown color to it. It is.
that's just the Google Maps.
Okay.
Like,
well,
that's just field. I just want to make sure it was or was not a TIF.
It is a designated area. Okay, a couple areas that I want to specifically talk about. It is the Oak Street area. I just want to mention that these couple projects coming up because there are activities that the Redevelopment Commission has been working on over the last 6 months that I want to highlight. So the Oak Street area includes Town Hall, here where the red button is. Then this piece of public property right here, which the Redevelopment Commission has offered for sale. There is a public process to put a piece of property up for sale. We received no bids on that property. We have waited 30 days and continue to not have any discussions on this property. Now the state statute will allow us to discuss with any interested party. We do not have to issue this property out for public bid again. But so you'll see some future conversations around what we have been calling Lot 2 in front of Town Hall, just opposite the eye doctor's building.
Corey, when you put that out for public bid, do you put a value, a perceived value on that? Is that how that works?
Yes, we have to put it out in the public notice twice through the paper. Then we have to have 2 appraisals for the property, and we have to advertise it for the average of those 2 appraisals.
Okay, thank you.
A quick
Now, that
question.
doesn't mean that, I'm sorry to cut you off, Counselor Polk. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, is there something in writing that says where the parking lot can be? Because if they use, is there any of that property out front here that is designated for more parking?
To my knowledge, there is not any parking agreements today. Anything that we would propose on Lot 2 would either need to be self-sufficient for parking, or we would have to have a shared parking agreement,
Yeah,
of which I know that, parking is a high demand all over town. So,
Corey, can you mention what the price is on that?
you know what, Counselor Knowles, I will follow up with you on that. I do not recall what that was. Perhaps I could send that via email and it could just be included in the notes. Okay, the next area that I want to highlight is Creekside. Creekside is special because not only is it a tax increment area, an EDA area, it also is land that the RDC owns. And so we have been going through the process of trying to sell this property and have some clear economic activities. We had some success in the last part of the year. We have sold lots 10 and 11. You'll see that on blue. That has been, well, we haven't closed yet, but the deal has been struck with Graham Rahal Racing, GRP, Graham Rahal Performance Racing. So lots that we are going to focus on this upcoming year are lots 9, 4, 5, and 8 specifically. Lots 2 and 3, the Redevelopment Commission did enter into a letter of intent with Loft Development at the in the fall, and that just didn't move anywhere. You may remember in the fall, construction prices spiked, and construction loans now, or we have to have, they want full occupancy. I will tell you that I've had a lot of interest from small business owners that want to move their business into Creekside. And so what I would like to take the Redevelopment Commission and the leadership of Zionsville as a whole through in the first quarter is a visioning exercise for what does Creekside evolve into? And how do we get this place filled with businesses?
A quick question on that. I know at one point when the current administration came in, they were gonna give those lots for free just so we could get the tax dollars. Are we still giving these away for free or?
Counselor, I will answer it like this. Free is an option, but it's not my preferred option to start with. Like any negotiation, we certainly would like to strike a public-private partnership that's win-win for both parties. And obviously, one win is jobs and tax and people and the culture and overall fill-through economy that free land would come and deliver that. If we evolve into looking at not having big corporate headquarters, but having smaller businesses there, we may want to look at selling the land. It doesn't need to be for market rate. It can be for an immense discount or a small discount. My strategy as a negotiator is to always come out of the gate at market rate and see where the pro forma shakes out. One of the great advantages of redevelopment commissions is that we have the capability to fill gaps, financial gaps in a development pro forma. That's not something that can easily be done by a town council or a administration. And so we can structure these public-private partnerships either through bonding elements, through land acquisition as well.
So did Louth not close then on the ground? Is that off the table now? Lots 2 and 3, they were going to put a medical center there. Is that off now?
I would say.
Or ongoing discussions?
It's ongoing discussions. I wouldn't want to, there's active interest on it. I would not want to close any other opportunities that came along. Especially when I'm talking to, these, an insurance agent or, some of these 1 or 5 employee shops, that might fit perfectly into a loft project, but they need signed leases. And so in that realm, I'm serving as a communication funnel to help the private developer fill his building.
Have you explored a master lease for the town for a speculative building to backstop that and let them build it and fill it up if we think the demand is there?
The redevelopment commission has the capability to build a building and
I don't want to build a building. I just want to be like the master lease
Master
lessor
lease.
of the building.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying I want to, I just potentially want to.
Yeah, I have not explored that.
Okay.
I certainly can. When I worked with the city of Carmel, the redevelopment commission owned a building and then did a master lease on the building, similar to what you're talking about.
Well, but I don't want to own the building, right?
Yeah,
I just want
no,
to be the
I understand. what
master
you're saying.
lessor for a fixed period of time to let them get the financing and build it if we think the demand is there. And maybe that's a discussion for another time, but.
Absolutely. One community that I worked with, they had a structure where they wanted arts type businesses, but the arts industry couldn't pay the market rate rent. And so the RDC basically functioned as a subsidizer. They held the master lease, and then let's say the master lease was $100 per square foot, but then they sublet it for $60 a square foot. And they covered the cost because they were filling that gap of arts and culture. Again, a strong vision is needed for us to establish something like that.
Yep.
Hey, Corey, I agree that the climate has certainly changed in the last decade for corporate headquarters to locate here. I think that's part of the new kind of strategy and vision, and even to some degree, the conversation that took place with GRP. You also mentioned that Creekside may be for sale. And does that mean all the remaining lots would potentially be given to a private developer and then they would develop and own those assets? Is that what you were suggesting, or?
No, although the great thing about this is that, that
Anything's possible.
anything is possible. And I love that in my world. I do not live in a black and white world. This is a very gray and pink and blue project. So if a developer came to us and said, we want to master develop the rest of Creekside, we would work very closely with them to make sure that their tenants and the project architecture align with what Zionsville is expecting out of this project. So we would be in lockstep with that, almost like a JV kind of thing. But again, my initial thought is continue down the path of individual lots. But
I hear you.
there has been
Because that was-
conversations about joining some lot, like 2 and 3, joining
Okay.
lots 2 and 3. I've had conversations of splitting lot 9, just so that we can continue to hit today's market.
Yeah, understand. That was kind of my thought. You had anticipated the follow-up question. There was if we did kind of restructure a vision for this, and there was kind of a corporate interest that wanted to kind of master plan it and own that, would they be restricted by our visions? I mean, I guess that could be part of the purchase agreement, that they would be bound to that, other than selling it and then they maybe go in a direction that may not be consistent with what the town might want.
Yeah, we would definitely have a project agreement that would put in a lot of partnership structures that basically secure the town's vision for this. So one idea would be that we have first rights of purchasing if they're going to sell. Another option would be that if they don't perform, there's a clawback clause. Another, a million different ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, so yes.
But there's ways for us to have input into that development
Yes.
strategy. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so the next area is the Zionsville TIF area. This area, to me, when I first started digging into Zionsville, was the most confusing area because it's referred to in lots of different ways. It is the 106th Street TIF. It's called the Zionsville TIF. It includes the Creekside TIF. It's also the downtown area TIF, the village, so this is a really big area. It stretches all the way down to 865 and then stretches up through the village. So it is the largest area of possibility for economic development and greatest TIF gain because it is your oldest TIF. And so it actually is set to sunset in 2030. So I want to highlight the downtown area because during COVID, the administration and the community went through a planning process for the Zionsville Gateway area. And that basically is Sycamore and Main Street and First Street and the area along the creek. This area is, it unfolded as a result of those apartments that came through about 3 years ago. So now there is a plan that the planning department recognizes, and it basically highlights the yellow area as mixed multifamily use, but at a smaller scale. And it would also include single family residences up against the existing single family. So it has some nice transition areas. Then it also includes more commercial activities on the other side of Main Street and First Street. The orange rectangular areas are commercial, other mixed use, so office, restaurants, things like that. One of the key projects here is actually realigning First Street. There is a lot of movement through this area for traffic, and this is Main Street today as it comes through the village, all the way down and across the bridge to Bubs. This dashed area in this master plan is proposed to become an urban market and a streetscape that is multi-purpose and can really function as a pedestrian plaza. Main Street then from the south would be rerouted just north of the creek and jog up and connect to First Street. And the redevelopment commission just approved a proposal to complete a utility survey of this area because there's a couple key, really big projects. And I just want to highlight them. So actually, I'm gonna go back to the screen. So the city, the town received a $1.9 million READY grant as a part of a $20 million award to the White River Collective. And the ideas around this Zionsville Gateway, and the great thing about being a planner and a designer in my head is that I have the opportunity to generate ideas, and then you have the follow through of getting something built, and it's not a plan sitting on a shelf. I mean, a lot of community members put effort into developing this gateway area. And so this READY grant allows us to get the projects off the ground. So some of the projects that would be included would be realigning that road. Another idea is burying the overhead transmission lines that are there. That is a Duke project. It would be a partnership with them and would take multi-year project. Realigning a road, designing, that all takes time. We are working with the IEDC to have our READY grant agreement approved. We're in those last signature steps. And once we get that approved, we will be able to start pulling projects out of that. The key projects that we are hopeful to use that funding for is pre-engineering for the road realignment and design services for the pedestrian plaza. Yes, sir.
Corey, I have a question. So we're talking about that Zionsville TIF area being the largest in Zionsville, and it's set to sunset in 2030. You mentioned that previous slide. Sorry to kind of go back to that. But what are some of the examples of the benefits that we've seen from that TIF over the years and that TIF money? And my secondary question is, if these power poles or this partnership with Duke, can we use TIF dollars that we've already had generated? Can we use those funds to potentially move the power poles?
Yes. To your last question, we can use the Zionsville 106th Street TIF dollars for these projects within the Zionsville Gateway sub area. The TIF has been generating funds, and I can touch on that in here in a little bit because you'll see how much has been accumulated overall, and we can use those dollars specifically for this.
I think it's important for the public to know what those funds have been used for in the past. If we decide to pursue an additional TIF area after 2030, right? That's a potential option to renew a TIF district.
I would have to ask legal counsel for renewing. However, I do know that for this gateway area, what we would do is pull these parcels out of that TIF area and create a brand new TIF area because we want those funds isolated in this specific area because so much infrastructure is needed that the public cost needs to have that dedicated funding by establishing a specific TIF.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Corey, what's the timeline for having to spend the READY grant dollars? Like, for example, we got CARES Act money and we've got like 5 years to spend it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there is a ticking timer on the grant once it's awarded.
Director Lance, do you recall? I should know this, but I don't.
Okay.
But I will tell you, we're gonna have this money spent within, by the end of 2024, which is within the grant framework.
So talk to me about, you're saying you're going to get that spent. Who controls that money? Who's awarded that money? Is the RDC awarded that money?
No, the RDC is not, the town has been awarded that money.
Okay.
And I believe what will need to happen is that council will need to set up a specific allocation.
Like a fund. Yeah.
And you will receive that, and then there will be claims that get drawn out of that fund.
Well, I don't know that you can draw claims out of a fund. It has to be budgeted first.
Yes.
We have a bad history here of spending money that's not been budgeted. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, which is where I want to find out when this money expires. So if you could get back to us, that would be helpful, because that money would need to go into a budget or an appropriation before a contract was signed or before it is spent and shows up on claims. And then, so what I'm saying, I guess, is the council needs to have a seat at the table for how this is spent. This can't just be spent and come to us for approval.
I actually have the grant agreement on my computer, and if we were gonna go down a rabbit hole, I would pull it up now. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will follow up and
That's fine.
answer up all your questions.
If you follow up and then we can,
Yeah.
maybe during the town council update, one of us can update the public of the answers at the next meeting.
It's a
Yep.
great point. I mean, I think we want to do this, right? This is something that's advantageous to the town. We just don't want to get in the way of the process that we need to have. My understanding, the way you answered the previous question about spend, is your intention is to begin spending some of this money in 2023.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, to Josh's point, we need to make sure we're aligning the process so that you don't have any problems spending the money that we deem.
Yes,
that we should
and
be spending.
I can get with the finance department and work with them to understand what the next steps are and bring a proposal to you and getting that done.
Right.
All right, so I have a couple of questions on this. First of all, 1.9 million be gone real quick.
Yep.
I mean, what's a roundabout?
Well, we're not gonna,
No, I'm just asking, what's a roundabout
Cost.
cost?
$2 million.
Right, so, I mean, are we gonna use this 1.9 to spend with consultants? Or are we gonna
Yep.
spend it on?
consultants.
Oh, geez.
It'll go towards surveying and all pre-construction services. So it will go towards the engineering, the surveyors, the environmental, the phase one. I mean, all of the due diligence things that are necessary as part of a project. But Mr. Culp, that aligns with the potential spend on this project. I mean,
Yeah.
this could be, this does not have a budget. Okay, so don't hold me to this, but this could be a $10 million project, and spending, $2 million on design services may not make sense, but it could be a $50 million project, and then spending $2 million, for consultants may make sense. And the consultants will help us put together that final budget.
All right, so you've been through this at other communities and
Yeah.
timeline. I mean, is this realistic in the next 20 years?
Oh, absolutely. No, this is realistic. Having, when we put the project schedule together, as you'll learn, I'm an optimist. So I tend to set a path that just, is the hardest to achieve. So 2023, we're going to spend the entire year doing design and due diligence. Then the first quarter of 2024, we can go out to bid for construction. Then we can do construction then 2024 through the summer of 2025 and have the road realigned open in 2025. Duke Energy, on the other hand, takes a lot longer. I did this exact same thing in Carmel, and it took 18 months just to fabricate the transmission line, fiber line that in Germany, just, so that's 18 months just to construct the utility. And then you have the design in front of that, and then you have the Duke red tape. I mean, that will take 5 years, but it's not a 20-year project.
Do we have anybody that wants to be in the yellow or
Actually,
orange?
yes, we do.
Okay, did I steal your thunder there?
Yes, but
Sorry.
that's okay. I'll jump right on it. So these 3 lots are in discussion today. These 2 bubble areas have been purchased by a development team called the Zionsville Gateway Partnership. And this property here is owned by Simplicity. Simplicity is in conversations with a development team that is interested in purchasing their property, so that can all go together. This property has been purchased by a gentleman that is interested in developing the property and has real estate development experience. They have brought on their team a development partner that can help assist them complete it. The area just north of Sycamore, this property is owned by the town. It's the PNC parking lot. It's all parking, actually. And we need to cast a vision for this property on what it needs to be. There's a parking demand in downtown. And so we need to understand if it needs to self-park and park public. And then we can decide what type of building can go on there, because the affordability of concrete and the availability of concrete right now is not really practical. This property probably will take a little bit longer. This property here, I met with the property owners. Both property owners are willing sellers. So I am working on just connecting them with buyers. I'm not a broker. This is just me connecting interest to interest. Does that count as a legal disclosure?
All right, so,
Real estate law is not what I do, sorry.
Okay.
all right, so I just want to make sure I understand. So the 2 yellow bubbles on the left have been purchased from the same individuals that were trying to sell it for Sycamore Flats, correct?
No, this is a new buyer.
No, the person selling it,
Oh yeah, the sellers, they're
they're out.
out.
So they weren't waiting to get approval for whatever they're going to build before they bought the land.
Right.
Okay.
Corey, on these, I mean, these are obviously all, private individuals who own this land. And we'd like to direct how this is all comes together. If we move that First Street realignment, that's obviously currently land owned between those 2. Would that be eminent domain, or would that be part of an agreement to sell that they have to give so much? That's quite a bit of chunk of property to give to the town to build that road through there. Does that make sense?
Well, that's what Director Lance keeps telling me too, but I would like to think that, redevelopment and the Redevelopment Commission is structuring public-private partnerships. So eminent domain is an option. That is not the option that we are pursuing. We are pursuing a joint partnership. Actually, depending on what the survey tells us, we may be able to align this where the old railroad tracks were. And it's where there's kind of where Simplicity has their drive. It's next to their building. So theoretically, if we were to move the road, Simplicity could still be in operations and do that. Will it impact, the quantity of land? Yes. I don't know if it will impact the quality of the land detrimentally. I think this is a positive impact, and that the developers would see this as a net win of us realigning the road.
All right, I'll try to make this my last question. So, sorry, everybody, but I was originally on this group, so this is why I'm asking all these questions, and I haven't heard anything in 2 years. So,
I'm here.
so we're obviously gonna have a new mayor starting 2024. Can that mayor just come up, walk in here and blow this up?
No. I'm pretty confident on that because this is public-private partnerships. These are private properties that are coming to the community. And seeking a public incentive, whether it be a road, parking, or whether it be bond dollars, but whatever it is, a trail. This project will go through the redevelopment commission. And the mayor has 3 appointees on the redevelopment commission. The council has 2 appointments on the redevelopment commission. And my job is to educate on the project. This project is going to run through the redevelopment commission, where the appointment, you all have representatives on. Then the school board also has 1 representative on that as well. Then if bonds are issued, then those bonds would come to the council for approval. If department funds are allocated, then obviously that is with the administration administering that. But I would say that it's not a straight out, no, you can't blow it up, because it is a team effort that's legislatively bound together.
Corey, I was under the impression this TIF didn't have any bonding capacity left, does it?
I can't answer that. I don't know, but it wouldn't matter because, again, we would pull this out and create a brand new TIF. The TIF.
You'd pull the TIF out of the existing TIF?
We would, so that those bonds are almost paid off, or the obligations.
2030, right?
Yeah. And so we would not start that date until all of those obligations have been met for any obligations within the Zionsville TIF area. And because we're so close, we're gonna.
It's 7 years. That doesn't seem that close.
It really is close because Counselor Trailer is giving me a grin of, I know this. When we structure the bonds, there is the lead time of construction, and then there's a lead time of interest payments, and then you start, the bond obligations at the back end. And so there's usually like a 5-year window to get going on this. It will take us a year to structure any public-private partnership. So right there, we're already at 6 years for structuring a deal and having bond payments due. Are you following me?
No, I am following you. I'm just worried, and maybe this is the way of the world, right? But if you issue bonds day 1 and you aren't making payments till year 5, I'm assuming they're not delaying the interest you owe on it for those 5 years.
That's correct.
So I'm just, we've already had our debt downgraded twice.
Mm-hmm.
So our credit rating is worse. So that's going to impact rates. Obviously, interest rates are generally very high right now. Anyways, I am just worried about what is an expensive process. What is the actual bonding capacity, and then having to pay interest on it in a high interest environment for 5 years before we start making any principal payments. I'm just nervous about that.
All very good questions. And those are questions that we would vet during our due diligence process. Any project that comes out of here as a public-private partnership needs to be financially viable first, not only on being able to pay the debt service, but also on being able to complete a construction project in today's construction climate with high dollars. I just had a conversation a week and a half ago. And they were very surprised at the cost of square foot for an office building. And I think that the teams that we have been having conversations with are strong fiscal companies that don't tend to lean on commercial lending or broader equity partners. So completing this project in a fiscally responsible way, I think is our path forward. It's the only path forward, really. So I understand your concerns. They are concerns that we will be asking as the projects unfold.
Well, yeah, and I won't even be here to vote on any of this stuff, but like the lever is going to be, it always is, what is the percent of the TIF revenue that the town is able to capture and retain versus give to the developers? They've got a fixed ROI they want. So I'm just worried if we're doing this in a high rate environment, that for them to make it work, that goes from a 50% capture to them to a 90, 95, 100% capture to them, which may make economic sense, but all of the revenue, all of the services we're offering to support the new project are not being backfilled by the revenue outside of the original revenue we got from just the base land. And obviously a facility with visitors and stuff, there's a much more demand. So it's just something to bear in mind, future councilors, future mayors, to make sure that it is a right balance of what does the developer get? What does the town retain that's going to have to support it?
Correct. Yeah, thank you.
Corey, you mentioned the redevelopment commission having 3 appointees by the mayor, 2 by the council, and 1 by the school board. Is the school board member a voting member?
They are not.
So it's literally 3 to 2. Just want to make that clear to the public.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna skip right ahead to the budget because I know you all have more business to do. So
Corey, I know you're skipping ahead to this, but I think that last one you skipped over there. So we've had a lot of conversations with folks in the village about this village business district and how it's got its own TIF area. And I see here that that's part of the 106th Street TIF. If people in the village, if businesses in the village want to utilize that revenue for the village, can we carve them out of this total, the rest of the 106th Street TIF?
yes, you can. I don't know that it would be necessary though, because we're such a small community, and to go through that legal effort would take a lot of time and money. I think that one of the great things about having a team with the redevelopment commission is that Zach and Owen are research experts in delivering data so that we can make decisions. Like, for instance, I had asked Zach to pull all of the assessed value for all of the parcels in the Oak Street TIF. I can ask that same type of data to be gathered for the village area. And so we can understand how much increment is coming in off of those village parcels. And then, as you'll see in the budget, we have the capability to structure this budget a little bit more loosely than what a council budget is. So if we needed to have a village line item, then we would see a village TIF expenditure and village TIF income, both lines. So I don't know that we need a special district.
You said you could ask that? Could I ask for that? Like just for the businesses that are in the village, just to have?
Corey, did you mention earlier that the TIF can be used up to a quarter mile and surround of the TIF? So it can be used outside the TIF area up to a quarter mile. So doesn't that incorporate what you're asking?
Well, yeah, I mean,
President Plunkett?
it could, right? I mean, I've had a lot of conversations lately with business owners in the village. It's like, listen, we've got a lot of stuff we want to do in the village, infrastructures, breaking down sidewalks, even some things
Restrooms.
that aesthetically, yeah, I mean, if we want to put a restroom there, the little pocket park that's at the corner, like, how do we, and my concern, I guess, would be if there's all this revenue that's being generated in the TIF that's, that is, there's a few hundred businesses in that village stretch. And it's like, if there's a lot of revenue being generated there, if there's money there that's not being used for them, that's going to be used for, 100 out on 106 or even all the way down to 865. I think it would be, personally, I think it would be better to allow them to have their own area, to have their own money, their own revenue to support that. But that's probably a different discussion. So
Definitely a different discussion, and I wouldn't call it their own money, because really it's the public's money.
sure.
And it's used for public infrastructure projects, all of which benefit, the greater economic activity of the village. For instance, when I was in Carmel, I had a sub fund for Main Street in downtown Carmel. And I facilitated a grant process where when new businesses came in, they're often mom and pop shops. They think about everything except the sign. And so we did a sign grant, so we would pay, they would come to us with a design, we would approve the design, we would pay for the sign, and that's how that worked. But that was all with TIF money.
Sure.
So I broke down this budget into two different pages. The first page here is receipts. The second page is expenditures. Basically, our beginning balance today is just over $3 million. That is how much is in all of our TIF buckets. Councilor Mountain, I think somebody asked about this. So I like to break this down into, you can't think about the fact that we have $3 million because we really don't. Councilor Garrett, you are getting just right to this point. We have debt obligation, and that is our first priority. And so you will see expenditures here in lines 4 through 11 that equal $1.5 million, basically in debt obligations and or agreements to other taxing entities. So net receipts is $1.3 million. Then we also have two other receipts that are non-TIF, a town council allocation of $180,000. This actually is in your budget today it has a line item. I think it's Economic Development Department that was created new. And so that funding is already there. And then we have the capability to sell land, and you can see that I'm planning on not giving away any land for free, but bringing in $500,000. So we would have total non-TIF receipts of $680,000. Then on the expenditures side of things, we've got a group of professional fees. These fees, this whole top section can be paid for with TIF dollars. TIF dollars can be spent for professional fees and construction projects. It can't be spent towards operations. So if the redevelopment commission actually had an office, we could not pay rent with TIF dollars. We would have to have another source of funding to pay that rent. So you'll see that we have expenditures associated with professional fees. Construction line item, I actually put 0 there because I figured this entire year we're going to spend our year doing planning, visioning, design. We're not going to be building anything. We have bond issuance fees. There is an economic development incentive existing today for one of the entities in Creekside for $100,000 annually. I'm working on gathering the paperwork associated with that to understand when that sunsets. And then a CDC grant. This is the Community Development Corporation. They are currently a subcommittee working within the community. They are working on their independent 501c3 designation. And this also could be a bucket where village partners or businesses can seek funding through the Community Development Corporation. So TIF expenditures, but 1 million. And then, excuse me 1 minute. Well, non-TIF expenditures, $180,000 for our redevelopment commission administration, and then miscellaneous expenditures. Thank you so much. So total year-end balance of 3.8 million. You can see we're starting the year at 3 million. We're looking at bringing in some money, paying some debt, spending some money, but ending the year up. My goal is for us to really get the foundation set for the RDC so that it can be successful in the future. January meeting is going to be an RDC 101. I would encourage anyone that is interested in redevelopment commissions or wants to know more how they function. We are going to spend some time learning. And hopefully your appointment will be able to attend that meeting.
Hey,
Then,
Corey, before you move on there, you'd asked me to sort of table a question I had. You had mentioned that the RDC would be moving your contract, so you reported directly to them in January. Is that in this budget or?
yes, it's in this budget.
Okay,
You'll
so
see-
because I think we had budgeted for consulting dollars for you. We don't need to move those over to cover that.
You won't, you can do either. You can move it over or you can, it may be easiest for you to move it over.
Yeah, because we'd have to deappropriate. Yeah, exactly. Deappropriate it and reappropriate to the RDC. If they've already got the money to pay for you, great. I'd rather just deappropriate that money and save it and bank it for later. If they're expecting with you comes the money, which I understand, I just want to make sure we go through that process, you know, in a timely manner.
Were there any other questions that I didn't hit for your tabling of questions?
No, I mean, just the ready grant timing, that's something you're going to get back to us on.
So then for February, at the RDC meeting, we'll go through a very detailed overview of the Ready Grant. Then in March, start talking about the ZGA. And then in April, I want to push out a 5-year TIF forecast and working with Crow to do that. Crow, the state mandates that the redevelopment commissions report out annually, and you have an annual TIF report. But there's no mandate for a 5-year forecast or anything like that. It's something that we have the capability to look at. Construction projects and public-private partnerships take a long time. And so I think it's important that we have a 5-year outlook rather than a year-to-year outlook. So I'm going to work with Crow in this first quarter, and then in April, we'll be able to roll out a fiscal vision for TIF. So that concludes my presentation. I know we covered a lot of questions during my presentation. I'm happy to take more. Just as a conclusion though, there are the things that I have to follow up on is the price that we were offering lot 2 on, what TIF funds were used for in the past, a grant expiration date, and appropriating the funds from the city's budget to the Redevelopment Commission.
Corey, what was the date of that January meeting again?
January 23rd. It'll be here at 6:30 p.m. and that's a Monday.
Thank you. Any questions for counselors? I do appreciate you coming. We, as Counselor Colt mentioned, for many of us, this is the first update we've had on any of this stuff ever. So
I'm happy to return anytime.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along. We have up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding 2022 year-end appropriations. This is resolution 2023-01. And we have all department heads present for the various reappropriation and questions.
I guess we have done this. I've looked back, we've done this year after year after year, and I have mixed feelings on this because I get that things change, right? And that you overspend in one area and underspend in another area. And it's too bad we don't have sort of finance represented here, because I'm just really curious if there's a best practice on a threshold, right? You know, if you've overspent $1,400 on office supplies and you can find it from travel, like one of the requests were, all right, I don't have a problem. I mean, it is what it is. When you start talking about tens of thousands of dollars, at some point, should you have to come before the fiscal body and say, oh, by the way, you know, we've now realized X is going to happen and Y now needs to happen. Is that okay? Right? Sort of like at the point of time, rather than just sort of, I just feel like we're just doing a bunch of cleanup, and like we're always seem to be doing cleanup on stuff. And, you know, I want a seat at the table to say, like, you know what, I don't really think now's the right time to spend 50 grand on X, Y, and Z. Deal with the budget you've got versus just this kind of, like, I feel like this is a beg for forgiveness, not an ask for permission. And that kind of bothers me a little bit. I get we've done it in the past and it is what it is, but that's just as I've been looking through all this stuff, what keeps running through my head is there a dollar threshold that, you know, at what point do you overspend $1 million and come back and say, well, I needed to pull $1 million from here, which is totally not really in the spirit of us being the fiscal body. Not really a question, just kind of a rant.
Dustin, do you know, is that something that we could do as town council, like as these year-end reappropriations, could we establish some ordinance or resolution that says, listen, anything above a certain amount has to be, I mean, how do we avoid this is I guess where I would go. You could bend that thing
I gotta
down.
say that
You can bend that down.
I'm gonna have to confer with Heather
Okay.
on that one.
Yeah, fair enough.
I did have answers actually to some of the questions that came up in the TIF thing, if that's helpful. My understanding on the Ready Grant is that those are ARPA dollars, so it should be 2024 obligation, 2026 spend it.
The Ready Grant money is ARPA dollars?
They're state ARPA dollars.
Yeah.
And then the state does a really good job of rebranding the federal money. And then to the question of if you can redo a TIF, you could basically just take it out of an allocation area and then put it in a new allocation area. So you can't per se re-up it, but you can take it out and put it in again.
All right, well.
And I apologize on the,
good.
I will get an answer on that.
Yeah, that's good to know. I'm kind of with you, right? I mean, I don't like that. It is something that we do every year. I will say this, I know that it certainly probably didn't feel good to have to write out the reasons for it, but I mean, there was one year-end reappropriation that was like $1.3 million. And now getting the explanation, it's actually only, a couple $100,000. Like that, I think there's value in asking the questions,
Yeah.
right? So that we get it. Cause I mean, I would have what happens if you approve that all of a sudden you don't even need it, right? I mean, that's a weird situation to be in too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
I think it's unfair to ask for it in retrospect, but now that I've seen it and given all the problems we've had with finance, again, maybe that's a going forward kind of thing to benefit future councils, future administrations that, hey, if you're hitting this threshold, you need to come back and just explain why, right?
Yeah.
It's taxpayer dollars. If you don't spend it, you're just saving the money, right? It's not like you have to spend it. And I don't feel like our department heads are, spending, willfully out of control. But I think it is good to at least have that conversation of, why are you so over budget in one category and why do you feel you should be able to use it in the other category? And if we all agree, it's no big deal. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if this was included in the packet online. So, folks could certainly go back and look. I mean, in full disclosure, some of this you just can't control, right? Fuel expenses go up, cost of ammunition goes up. we've got some of this stuff you just can't control. So it's not, I don't think that this is, we're looking at this and saying, man, this is all ridiculous. I think the reality is there are some things that you do have to address and go back and fix. So.
Some of those, I mean, yes, but we just passed the budget, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it feels like maybe it was just a miss as opposed to something that's dramatically changed in those prices in the last 2 months, if that makes sense.
Well, we passed the 2023 budget a couple months ago. This is all
Yeah, this is
2022.
all fixing the,
This is fixing 22, not 23.
yeah.
President Plunkett, you mentioned that, there are some expenses that we all have experienced. Fuel, you said ammunition. I haven't experienced that one, but I have experienced fuel cost increases. Are there any of these that stood out to you that were things that should have been appropriated or should have been budgeted properly?
I mean, I think that, I think you get into looking at, you got appropriation for, office supplies, CED, Municipal Action Center experienced increased levels. They start talking about, having things, having services for the town that people utilize certainly is going to incur additional expenses. And sometimes it's difficult to understand that. I think some of this stuff, you look at even with the parks department, parks are being utilized more, golf course was being utilized more. I mean, there's some part-time staffing that's on there that I don't know that you could have necessarily planned for, right? So, I think it's, again, I would go back to this number was significantly larger a month ago. And I don't know if it was just because of an accounting error, or we had an extra zero somewhere we shouldn't have, but just by having this, and again, department heads, I know it was difficult to go back and go through this, but I certainly appreciate the memos and the explanation, because for me, that was helpful. And certainly I appreciate seeing the changes there. So.
One that's Jared, can you just explain real quick the parks bond, if you don't mind coming up, because those are pretty big numbers. I'm assuming those maybe were miscategorized and they needed just to be moved to a different fund, but I just want to confirm that because I didn't see it in your summary.
Yes, so when the bond was created in 2019, there was a certain split of contract services and construction. And along the way, certain construction invoices were coded to that contract services. So it was just a lot of cleanup, Cindy and I putting our heads together and getting that fixed towards the end. So just something that didn't get caught or did get caught and then didn't get corrected within OpenGov that we caught at the end here.
And I'll let you verify, but I'm assuming this is for everyone, just for the public too. These are not new dollars spent. These are dollars that were budgeted in one fund, underspent, another fund was overspent, and we are truing it up, but not spending additional dollars.
Correct.
Correct.
So
For parks, I know.
surplus in some lines, deficit in the other.
Yeah, okay.
Trying to minimize that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Which Jared, on parks, the numbers, basically at the end of the day, the number comes down to about 14 grand.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Are there any questions from counselors or additional discussion? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Move through the house.
Got a first from Vice President Burke.
Second.
A second by Counselor Colt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next are other matters. Are there any other matters from counselors?
Just one thing that I noticed on the claims again, sorry, I keep going back to that, but on the claims, I'm sure this is inaccurate, but it looks like all of the claims that were paid prior to this meeting. I'm sure that's not the case because it shows them all being paid at December 23rd or December 31st. Maybe that's just an accounting thing because it's the end of the year. But I just want to point that out so we can confirm that those have not already been paid.
They're showing that they have been paid.
Yeah, when I pull up the claims, the final, let's see. Yeah, the January 3rd claims register, there's a payment date. And they're all paid in 22. So I just want to make sure that that's maybe it's just an accounting thing, but I want to make sure. Are you seeing what I'm
I am
seeing?
seeing.
Okay, all right. I thought the way you were laughing, I thought maybe I'd misread it.
Or maybe they've been paid.
Or maybe they've been paid. But I just want to clear that up. And
I mean, sure they take.
I who knows? Also, I will beat this dead horse maybe one last time. I hope one last time, and then hopefully don't have a reason to address it going forward. But I read it, and maybe you guys did too, but we should not expect to see the mayor at any of our meetings going forward, per an article in the Lebanon Reporter. The latest reason for not attending is that she doesn't want to attend because we complain about her not attending. So I just wanted to make sure nobody was expecting her to come.
Can we keep complaining?
Any other matters from counselors?
We got a hand in the audience.
Oh,
Mike Dale, CED. There was a question about whether these claims have actually been paid. And I can't answer certainly for the long list of claims in the register, but there is the item certainly in my department, $25,000 plus for a new vehicle, and that has not been paid. So that is still pending.
So maybe it's just an accounting thing because it's the end of the year. I don't know. Thank you, though.
thank you, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Anything else?
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
First by Counselor Garrett. I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 at 7:30 a.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Please note the date shift due to the Martin Luther King holiday, as well as the time adjustment from 8 to 7:30. Final notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana open door law. Thank you.